still some profit still, so I'm nothing like I
Can we start without legal?
I think so.
Nate says yes.
I'm probably the last one. We got a 7:30 end, so hurry up.
About legalities.
So I think we'll go ahead and get started.
Jeff?
Good evening. I think we're going to get started.
Okay, do the leap.
So while Sandy's making her way up, I will say that Bruce Skog will be here late this evening, and our finance director is sick, and I sent him home. I said, please go home. He's not feeling well. And our legal counsel has not quite arrived, but we thought since everyone's here, how about if we get started? So let's get started, and we're going to start with our the invocation, and Mr. Ephraim, I'm going to say your name wrong. Come on up. Where did you go? There you are, right in front of me. Could you say your last name for me?
Carry on.
Carry on. Thank you. I would have said it wrong. Thank you so much. You're with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and thank you for opening us in prayer this evening. So let's stand. Thank you.
God, eternal Father, in this time, we come here as city council and members of this beautiful city. And we invoke the blessings upon us because we believe in Thee and Thy power and Thy mercy and the wisdom that can be poured out to all of us. We express gratitude for this opportunity to come to Thee in prayer. This is a privilege that has been given to us to help us in our conscience, to be connected with Thee. And we ask, Father, please that blessings can be upon this meeting, upon our citizens, upon the city council and the mayor. We ask Thee the protection upon our children and the youth in this city. We ask Thee the blessings upon the police department and for all the people that are serving in the army, that they are serving in foreign places, but they are helping us to be in this freedom. We express our love and admiration for Thee and for the lost. Please help us to be united in good purpose. Help us to become better citizens and to do good things to our neighbors. We express this, and we say it in the sacred name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much for leading us in prayer. And Victor, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
I'd be happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's begin with roll call.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Bruner.
Here.
Hogaboom. Here. Levi.
Present.
Haverfield.
Here.
And Skog is going to be late.
Yes. So are there any proposed amendments to the agenda that council is aware of? And I don't have any proposed amendments, so seeing none, I would stand for a motion for approval of our consent agenda.
Mayor,
Yes.
I make a motion that we accept the agenda as approved, as written.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Bruner.
Yes.
Hogaboom. Yes. Haverfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Levi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda are our proclamations, and I'm not going to read the proclamation this evening in full, but I will say that this is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And as we all know, cybersecurity is a thing that is of extreme importance today. And the city of Nampa, I'll read part of this, recognizes, and Butch, come on up while I'm reading it. City of Nampa recognizes it has a vital role in identifying and protecting its citizens from and responding to cyber threats, which may have a significant impact in our individual and collective security and privacy. Anyway, rather than me reading on, I would like to introduce Butch, our Director of IT. And Butch, what would you like to share with us about the importance of cybersecurity?
Well, Mayor and Council, just to, by way of history a little bit, the Cybersecurity Council Alliance of the United States Homeland Security Department was established in October of 2004. It was created to raise awareness about the importance of cybersecurity and to ensure that all Americans have the resources they need to stay safe and secure for that. The theme for this year is Own It, Secure It, and Protect It, to focus on key areas of including citizen privacy, consumer devices, and e-commerce security. This is the second year that, Mayor, you have recognized and signed a proclamation for that, and we're grateful for that, and we're very excited about the support that we have from Mayor and Council here in the city. What a wonderful thing that is. And we'll have some ongoing training throughout the month and throughout continuing on, but we're going to raise this up to the, not just within the city employees, but also external to senior citizens and others, as we're going to make that available through the library and through other venues. So we'll be doing that as well.
Thank you. And then, you know, Butch, I so appreciated your team. When the school district went through their recent challenge, the city stepped up and helped. And I just want to say thank you publicly, because I think that's what it's about. And that is the city coming alongside and helping those other key entities in our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then I see some of your employees back there. Are you going to have them stand later when you do your staff report? Okay, so we'll wait for that. Okay, thank you so much. So this is the time on the agenda that someone, a Nampa resident wishing to speak, has the opportunity to do so. Thank you, Amy. We'll see who has signed up this evening. Wow, we have quite a few. And I'm going to start with, are the Idaho Horsemen here this evening? I don't see them. Okay, so they'll be here in the future. Okay, so the first person that I have signed up is Lee Raby. Is that correct? And Lee, I have your address written down at 2322 Aruba Avenue, Nampa. Is that correct? That is correct. Come on up. So during this segment, and I'll mention to everyone, we each have 3 minutes to speak on an agenda or a non-agenda item. So you'll get the time when your 3 minutes is up. And so is yours an agenda item or a non-agenda item?
Non-agenda.
Non-agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
What
you
it
for
is
sharing with us.
I've been here before speaking about the speeding in the island subdivision. They put up a radar machine to see about the speeders and all that kind of stuff and record what time of day and everything like that. And last time I was here, they had not received the report on it yet, and it's getting very bad, especially with the delivery services and stuff like that. And now the days are getting shorter, and the kids are walking to the school buses, and we have radical drivers.
Okay.
And then since the last time I brought this up, I haven't seen any police officers in the islands whatsoever. Find me in and out 2 or 3 times a day. Thank you.
Thank you. So could you do me a favor? Chief, could you get his phone number? If you guys could step out, because I don't have it here. I'd like to get your phone number so someone can follow up with you, because that's important that we do so. So thank you. So if you could grab his telephone number, that'd be great. Or you could give it to Amy at the back.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for caring about your neighborhood. So the next person that has signed up is this, I think it is Mark. I'm not catching the last name. And this is something back to school. Oh, it's Mert. Okay. Mark, what is your last name?
It's Mert
Mert.
Logue, L-O-G-U-E.
Mert Logue. Boy, I totally got it
That's
wrong.
okay.
I
It's okay,
am
Mayor.
sorry.
No worries.
And go ahead and share your address with us.
It's 5801 Eastgate Boulevard. I'm representing Peterson Dodge Chrysler Ram Jeep. there. I'm the general manager with the organization. I'm here on invite with Councilman Victor Rodriguez and Sandy Levi. They wanted us to share with the council this last year's back-to-school event that we held for the dealership for the month of September. And basically, it's a new approach to helping and giving back to the community. And what we've done is slotted a certain dollar figure when somebody buys a new vehicle. And we adopted some projects from schools throughout the community in Nampa and in Middleton and several others. I think we had about 10 projects that we funded. And with this funding, they gave us what they needed. We put a dollar figure on it, and then as our customers made their purchases, they were able to go through, take a look at the projects that were available, and make a decision on where they wanted their money to go. And we were able to fund some microscopes for a veterinarian project. We were able to get a couple of crack detection devices for welding school or the welding programs for the schools so that they can basically perfect their welds and make sure they're doing a good job. We were able to get a stove and that for one of the FFA programs, and also help with a greenhouse that needed to be done. And all in all, a total of about $13,000 that we were able to get back in projects. And we appreciate the opportunity in the community, the fact that we're here in Nampa. We feel it's important to give back. And so we're looking for, projects for next year. We want to make sure that this gets out to the community because, it's simply just our way to help. And there's plenty of programs within education or at the school system on the athletic side that really gets help. But a lot of these programs don't. A lot of the science projects and stuff are underfunded or don't get funded, and that's what we'd like to focus on. We'd like to focus on those things that are there to help educate and need a little help. So that's all I have for the council. Appreciate it.
Mayor Kling? Mayor, don't go away yet.
Yeah.
So as Sandy and I visited with Marie Wallingford and over at Peterson Dodge, why is Peterson Dodge so active in the community, dedicated to education?
Well, it's a community that heavily supports us. We sell Ram trucks and Jeeps. We have a tremendous agricultural, clientele, and we just feel it's important. We do a lot of, 4-H projects for kids, cows and lambs and sheep and stuff that they show, and we just feel it's important to give back. It's so many dollars are spent outside of the community sometimes, and if we can do the things that we need to do to let the community know that we're giving back and give them another reason to make sure that they invest in their community, I think that really helps. I mean, there's no catch to this. We're just asking for the opportunity and letting folks know that we give back to the community in ways that I think are important and don't have any. We've been really kind of careful on how we even talk about it, because we're not trying to do it to hang our hat on something. We're doing it because I think it's the right thing to do. So.
Well, I think over the last 5 years, you've helped the Future Farmers of America, mm-hmm. which is a whole different class of students. So talk about that for a minute.
Well, it's these kids. If you know anything about them, they get involved early. I mean, they start like when they're really young, and then they work into where they get into leadership and development programs. And when you see that, and the kids that are involved in that, I just think it's healthy for them. I mean, they go through all kinds of decisions and choices and take care of things and grow things and raise things, and then they have to show them and sell them. There's just a lot of great life lessons in that, and again, they're a big part of our clientele.
Well, good. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, and I'm sorry that I wasn't there, and I thank you to our city council members that are able to attend in my absence. So
They were. It was great.
thank you so much. Thank you. So Marie Wallingford?
Good evening, Mayor and City
Hello.
Council members. There's not much I can add to what Mert said, but I will tell you we are actively supportive of the Nampa community. I live in Nampa, love it. And we also do test drive events at the dealership. So we will go into a school, and for every test drive, meaning a body gets into a vehicle, takes a short test drive, we donate $20 to that school. So Skyview High School, we've earned them $6,000 for one test drive event, 4 hours. Parents don't have to buy any candy or popcorn. It's wonderful. So again, it's just our way of giving back to the community, and FFA is wonderful. Those kids are the future, and we need to invest in them, so it's important to us. So it's our way of giving back.
Marie, you said there was a number of, an actual amount that Peterson Dodge has given to the community. You remember what that was?
It's close to $80,000 since the inception of the back to school and the test drive events we do. So
And that goes to all high school area, high schools and local?
elementary up to high school. And any school can have a test drive event. They just need to get a hold of myself and we'll set it up. And usually it takes about 3 hours, and the schools usually net about $3,000. So, and there's no strings attached. So it's a wonderful program.
Well, we sure appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much. I forgot to have Marie share her address, but it's 4501 East Brooklyn Drive. Thank you. So the next person signed up is Mr. William Langdon? Rex. And Rex, go ahead and share your address with us.
1216 Holly Street, Nampa, Idaho. I have here amended copy, hard copies of our complaint against code violation at 1215 Garland Street. The addition would be Mr. Gary W. Odell, the owner of 1212 Holly Street, Nampa, Idaho.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Although we have received no information whatsoever from the Office of Nampa Code Enforcement, we remain keenly interested in this ongoing exercise in law enforcement. Thank you.
I believe, if I understand correctly, it has been turned over, and once it's out of our hands, I don't think there's anything that we can update at this time. And I believe that was the communication. Possibly, I'm hoping that got back to you, but once we do turn it over to law enforcement, there isn't anything, there's going to be a pause, and we're not going to know much.
Okay.
But that's,
Who will be notifying us?
Clay Long, Chief of Staff right back there, he will connect with you. So as you step back, he'll follow
Talking
up with
about
you.
the Municipal Office of Code Enforcement?
Right. Clay oversees that office now, and he is the one that's going to be following. Normally, he's in a suit, but he's not tonight, but he's the guy that is going to follow.
Okay.
He will see that you get followed up because they report to him.
Okay. We will wait anxiously for that.
Yes.
Thank you.
He will
Madam.
follow up. Thank you. David Ferdinand, as you come up, I'll give your address, 2419 West Heron Loop, Nampa. Non-agenda?
Non-agenda.
Non-agenda.
Thank you very much. I'm here representing Pastor Rick Bray, and I just wanted to communicate with the mayor and council this evening. He's the pastor of the Bible Pentecostal Church, and to communicate with this body in the recent approval of a liquor license within 150 feet of his place of worship. And our request is to review the process that occurred with the mayor and council. And I understand I have a meeting scheduled with the Chief of Staff tomorrow, and we hope to arrange an appropriate meeting and an opportunity to review that process.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
I will try to join you. I'm not positive I can, but I'll try to join your meeting. Thank you, David. David Beverly. David's address, as he's coming forward, is 2333 West Sheridan Avenue. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is this an agenda or non-agenda item? Non-agenda. Welcome.
Wouldn't be any fun if it were an agenda item. Madam Mayor and Council, I just have a question and a preamble. My taxes for my house have gone up 20% the last 2 years in a row. Now, I have the data to back that up, but I don't have the time to demonstrate it. So if you want some other time, I can do that. However, the question I have is, back in the day when I was getting a paycheck and I got a raise, I knew where the money went. So the question I have for you, as well as the rest of the city, is those 20% increases on every house caused an increase in the budget, so where'd the money go? Now, before everybody gets all furrowed up, I'm talking just the line item of Nampa, not the county or the other things. And I know why it went up, but can you demonstrate where the money went? Very simple.
I think that's an excellent question, and we need to get back with you on that.
Oh, we do, okay.
Yes,
I would appreciate it.
we will. Our treasurer isn't here tonight, but I'd love to get back with you on it. But I appreciate the question. I had a discussion with some people today, and the tough questions are greatly appreciated and valued because it keeps us on our toes. And we should never get casual in what we do. We need to be diligent in what we do. So your question's appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for your service on our airport commission all
Oh, you're
those years.
certainly welcome with that as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time.
Our last person that signed up this evening is, well, we may have one more, is Charles Fuller. Is Charles here? And Charles, I've got your address down at 116 South Locust Lane. Is that correct?
No, Locust Street.
Locust Street.
Right.
Okay.
And I think I've spoke here once or twice before, but really I'm speaking to introduce myself, give you some more information, and you know where I stand here with Donald Trump. And I'm a veteran, and I'm very, very concerned with what's happening in this country. Let me tell you a little bit about, I'm a graduate of Northeastern University, a journalism graduate. In my senior year, I was editor-in-chief of the Undergraduate Weekly. And then I was in ROTC. I was commissioned officer in that year. And my first duty, well, no, I had basic signal office training in Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, and then advanced training. I was trained as a message center officer, which we would be in charge of message centers, and had a top secret clearance. And I found out some things that were very disturbing. One of the classes I went into, they told us if you were assigned to an American embassy or elsewhere, you're going to be surrounded by Central Intelligence people. And the man said, don't believe what you read in the newspapers. Well, being an aspiring journalist, that stuck with me. And I found out that, yes, the press is censored. I went on to the Hartford Courant, which is the largest daily in Connecticut. And while I was in college, I worked as a copy boy at the Boston Globe. But he said, don't believe what you read in the newspapers. And it's very, very true. He said, if you go to an embassy, you're going to be surrounded by Central Intelligence people. You know, this is a warning. And he said, the Central Intelligence, the CIA plants stories in newspapers. And that's very much true. And I went on to the Hartford Courant. I was a bureau chief. And then I went to a magazine in Boston, and I worked there for a few years. And then I went to New York, and I worked for the Wall Street Journal. They sent me out to Detroit. I learned something about the auto industry. 30 seconds remaining? Well, anyway, there's a lot more I could talk about, and it's about money, how the money's been destroyed. The dollar that I put into Social Security when I first started is worth about 2 cents today. It's awful. And I can tell you about the bankers and what they've done, what their agenda is to destroy America, quite frankly. And I'm glad to see everyone here is Christian, and I got involved because I was told it was a Christian responsibility. I have a lot more to say. Probably I could do some writing. Anyway, thank you.
Well, feel free to come back,
I
and
will.
thank you so much for your comments.
Okay.
We appreciate it. Thank you, and keep speaking up. Don't be silent.
No.
Thank you. Amy Bowman.
Hi. I just wanted to briefly mention that this year the tree lighting festivities are being extended a little bit. We are going to have a Christmas market in Lloyd Square, and we're looking for vendors. And so I know you guys know a lot of movers and shakers and people that would be great to have. And so I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Hopefully you'll start seeing more information about it soon. But we're also having entertainment. So just the whole tree lighting festivities, we're changing it just a little bit, expanding it a little bit this year. I just wanted you guys to be aware.
And the date is?
November 30th, which is the Saturday following Thanksgiving. It's also Shop Small Saturday. Thank you to the NDC for free parking in downtown, I think, that day.
And what time does it start?
So 12 o'clock is going to be when it starts in Lloyd Square, 12 to 5. And then the tree lighting entertainment's going to be at 5:15 and the tree lighting at 6.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think that's it for our 3 minutes. Napa residents wishing to speak. The next item on the agenda are mayor and council comments. And I do have a couple comments. Thank you to Amy, my communications manager. And that is a reminder that Amazon, I don't know if you all heard, Amazon was announced, and so it's no longer Project Bronco, and so it will be the Amazon Fulfillment Center that will be coming to Nampa. We've had a team, we have a team and have had a team that has been working very diligently on this. We've been asked a number of questions. Amazon is funding the street improvements. I think I've heard that they're funding more here than they have in other communities to offset the cost of their being here and to get the streets done. It's happened relatively quickly, so it'll be hard to get it done real fast, but they are, and we've got a great team that's working, trying to do the best we can to keep with pace with their schedule. And then if there are any questions, you guys are always welcome to call the mayor's office. Wednesday night here in our city council chambers is the Nampa City Council Candidate Forum. It begins at 7:30. It is the Idaho Press Tribune partnering with the Nampa Chamber of Commerce that hosts this. KTVB will live stream it. And so feel free to come. This is so important that we are a part of process, right? I'm sorry. Did I say 6:30?
No, you said 7:30.
Oh, good grief, I looked at 6:30. Thank you for catching that. You know, when you look at something and what comes out of your mouth, it wasn't the same. Okay, Thursday night, October 24th, we have another event taking place also here, I believe. It is from 6 till 9, and it is Idahoans for Openness in Government. And it is a seminar. It's a seminar that Idaho Attorney Lawrence Wasden is actually hosting here and in a couple cities across the state. And it's also featuring a Deputy Attorney General Brian Kane and Betsy Russell, who's a reporter for Idaho Press. And it's about openness in government. And so again, KTVB will live stream the event. And do you have to RSVP to attend? So they say RSVP to Holly Beach at Idaho Press. But I think it's going to be excellent. So again, that goes back to openness in government. And so that's it for announcements. Council members, do you have anything you'd like to share, Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. I have two things. I wish Nate Runyon was here tonight because I would like to just comment on what a beautiful job he did today at our AIC water users meeting, presenting about the recycled water users permit and the stages that we are in here in Nampa and the purpose behind it. He did a fabulous job. I'm the representative for Region 2. And then secondly, I would just like to say on a personal note, my grandmother is 102 today.
Wow.
Wow. That's
Pretty
amazing.
Wow.
Congratulations. So unless there's anything else from mayor and council,
Just elections 2 weeks from tomorrow. Just if anyone's watching, get informed and make sure you vote.
thank you. You know, voting is so important. I will say one thing, the most important government, in my opinion, is local government, because it's truly where you can make a difference. And when it comes to city council and mayor elections, we need people that are engaged, that are paying attention, that are getting out and being informed on the issues and voting, because it truly is a place where we can make a difference. So thank you for saying that. We not only have a privilege, but I think we have a responsibility. But I'm preaching to the choir here because you guys are all here, right? So, and then the people online are listening. We need to go tell our neighbors, get out and vote, right?
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
One more thing. I want to thank Kenny Roden and his committee for that wonderful job you guys are doing for the auditorium district. That was a good article. It looked like it was positive, and I'll tell you what, I'm excited. So thank you, sir, and thank your committee as well. We're headed in the right direction with that.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Okay, so agency and commission reports, we have none tonight, and so we're on to staff communications. And actually, Tom, if you don't, do you mind if I have Butch go first? Oh, his guys, since he doesn't normally report, if you don't mind. Okay, Butch, you're on.
Try to remember I'm not delivering a sermon, so I'll keep this brief. So what I'd like to do tonight, Mayor and Council, is just to give you a staff update with the IT department, and I want to start off by sharing with you my first 90 days on the job. I've been here longer than that, but the first 90 days I set out to spend my first 30 days simply observing. I wanted to, making the migration from the private sector to the public sector, I didn't want to draw any pre-drawn conclusions, so I spent the first 30 days simply observing. The second 90 days was asking questions about what I had observed and why and how things worked. And then on the final 30 days, I spent time doing some minor reorganization within the organization that I felt was best for the city to optimize that. There weren't many changes that were needed, but I took some time there. During that time, I also concluded something that I was very impressed with. I have an outstanding IT staff. We have an outstanding IT staff. And I'd like my staff that are here tonight, Peter and Killian and Shaylin and back in the back, we've got our recording folks too, Mark and stuff. So if you guys would just stand up real quick so we can acknowledge you. These are just a small portion of the team, but there is such a strong camaraderie here. They chose to come and support me here tonight, so that was very impressive. Also, during my first 90 days, I spent some time getting familiar with the Tyler implementation because I'd heard a lot of information on that, and so I wanted to familiarize myself with that and find out where we could make this as effective and efficient as we could. So that was the first 90 days. Current efforts going on right now, as you know, there's security education going on, which is very important to me. People ask me what I lose sleep over at night. That's one of the things that causes me to lose sleep, is to think that anything would happen to the city because of some nefarious activity that goes on. And so that is something that I take very, very seriously. I have noticed in the time that I've been here, we've gone to oh, it's okay, I'm not going to worry, I'll just click or whatever, to an extreme paranoia. I'd like to take that pendulum now and swing it somewhere to a place that's reasonable. But what I do want to call out is our last phishing campaign. We had 27% there were over 600 emails sent out. 27% actually reported it. 12% actually violated it. Now here's the thing, that may not sound like a lot, but we as a city have to be 100% accurate. We can make no mistakes. A criminal only has to be successful once. And so that's why that's important. And so I think it's very important that we continue to do that. The training sessions that are provided, we try to keep them short but meaningful. So we don't want to take up a lot of your time, but we do want to spend some time on the topics that are very important, and so those are coming out on a regular basis. We are looking for a way now, because of the paranoia, everybody's clicking on those and sending them back to us saying, this must be a phishing exercise. We want to find a seal that we can put on our internal emails and things like that that identify that you're safe, you're okay to do your thing. So we'll figure out a way to do that going forward. In the way of other things that I've learned through the Tyler implementation that we've accomplished that I want to call out, I have met with the Vice President of Tyler implementation side of it, CJ McCarron. We had a very frank conversation about the implementation and how I felt that it was insufficient, and there were some things that were definitely lacking, specifically based on the experience that I've had as a software implementer. I was able to call some of those things out. As a result, we have a weekly meeting that we now have that we go over the critical cases. Since I came, there was an average of 12 critical cases open in breach or violation or nearing violation. We cleared the queue last week. So we're very excited about that, and we want to stay on top of that. That's something that I shouldn't have to do, but I'm willing to do it to maintain this and to move forward. So we're making some great progress there. So those are some great things that are going on. We're also in the process of putting together a disaster recovery process so that we understand that if something does happen, and in today's world we have to talk in not if, but when. And we will do everything we can to prevent it from happening, but if we talk in those terms, what do we do when it happens, and how quickly can we recover? What is the right order of recovery? Those are things that are very, very important. We want to focus on the most important things so we can get us back up and running should we be affected by malware or anything like that. So those are the main things that are going on. We have implementation dates for Tyler that I wanted to share. We've got 4 phases of implementation. Phases 1 and 2 are past. They were prior to my coming along, and so we're looking at phases 3 and phases 4. We have phase 3 go live is scheduled for January, and that is setting up the process workflows, specifically focused on Public Works. So their workflows will be set up for that, and we've got lots of training going on with the Tyler folks now, and that seems to be progressing. Finally, we had some snags there, some difficulties with the functionality in the software, and we're starting to get those ironed out so that we feel good about that January go live date at this point. And then phase 4, which is primarily focused on our utility billing. This is one that's going to really affect the city when it comes to our software changes and things, and so we're working very diligently on that, and we're targeting April of next year for the go live on that. One of the things that you will also observe, we had originally scheduled for phase 3 go live in October. I backed it off because it wasn't the right thing to do for the city. I don't want to hit a date just for the sake of saying we hit the date. I want to do it so that we feel secure, we feel confident, and we know that what's going to move forward is something that the city can benefit from. So I don't want to continually push things out. I think targets are very, very important, but I'm not going to hit a target simply to say I hit a target. So we're going to make sure that it's accurate as we go forward. Any questions?
Mayor Kling? I have several.
Okay.
So in this implement new program with Tyler, is Ida Bailey still involved in this process?
No.
No?
So we moved away from that some time ago.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Good.
so-
Yeah, because that's cost cutting, right?
Right.
Right. So that was one of my main concerns, was how much money we're paying out when we could just be paying your group, right?
Correct.
Okay. The other thing is, how much money have we saved, if you can say, with the Tyler program? Or because it's been a hit and miss, but because of your new implementation program and process, I feel that you're saving us money here.
We'd have to go back and calculate what those projected savings would be. I don't have the figures with me.
Okay, but for right now, the city of Nampa is self-sufficient regarding the Tyler. Because we haven't been.
Yes.
Right, initially, that was outsourced. And
Right.
we ended the outsourcing of that my goodness, I'm trying to think if it was a year, it was over a year ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's been very good because it's in-house and we're not spending what we were spending when I first came
Good.
in.
I think some time ago, Mayor, we had to pay like 600,000 or.
That was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot, and it was, you know, it was a real.
You bring out, outside consulting is very, very expensive.
Oh, I know,
So, yeah.
I know. I'm glad. I just didn't know that, so thank you for that. And thanks for the work you're doing. This
Thank-
sounds good.
Thank you. It's my team. They make me look good.
Yes, they do.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, team. Tom, you're on.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I've got a couple items for you, one about irrigation, and then we'll follow up with some wastewater news. So irrigation water went off. We had a good season. It went off beginning October, and so now the crews are out there winterizing pumps and getting ready for next year. So in your report, we're giving you an upgrade on some of the design work that we're doing at the plant for phase 2. So we got our primary digester that's under design, starting construction next year. There's some milestones in your report to look at, and also our administration and lab building. So that's another one we've got under design and plan to get constructed next year. Also, our progressive design build project, we've got that out for a request for qualifications. They're due back on November 7th, so we've had a lot of interested parties in that. And after we'll shortlist the RFQs and then ask for three teams to give us an RFP, and then we'll choose off of that and come back with a recommendation. And the last thing I want to mention, that we got reuse permit. Thank you, Councilwoman Levi, for mentioning Nate. He's doing a great job on outreaching all of this. So we actually do have a permit that was issued for us to put our wastewater into the Phillips Canal during the summer months, which is going to help with alleviate the temperature requirement, and then we have a consistent output of nitrates and phosphorus. So it's really, we don't have to go down much in the summer. So it's a 30-day comment period. It went out on, let's see, just here on October 15th. So the comments are being collected by DEQ. You can go on their website and look at the comment page. Nate and I have done a lot of thinking about outreach. We've done a lot of proactive outreach before it even came out. We've talked with all the cities in the Treasure Valley, and they're on board with this. We've talked with Idaho's Water User Association at their conference. We talked to the EPA. We've talked to Trout Unlimited, Idaho Conservation League. Recently, we've talked to the Lower Boise Water Council, which is the team that puts together the TMDLs for Boise River, and they said they'd give us a letter of support for this. And then the Boise River Enhancement Network, and then today Nate talked to the AIC group. So got a lot of positive comments on our project, and so we're excited. Can I answer any questions?
That was great.
Okay.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
work. Thank you and your team. Okay, the next item, we're ready for new business. Section 5 on the agenda, and the first item is an action item. This is to award the bid and authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Excelsior Construction Company for tenant improvements at the Nampa Development Center, Services Center. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, as you know, we've been working on this project for quite some time, trying to get this ready. The inside improvements to move several of the departments over there. And we had a budget that is partially made up, I think it's all on your packets, but partially made up of some rollover funds that was approved in fiscal year 19, as well as some funds that were approved as part of the fiscal year 20 budget to comprise the entire budget for the project. So we held a formal bid opening, and we had 7 bids. And we actually had one low bidder that had made a mistake. They withdrew their bid, and we identified our next low bidder, still within budget, well within budget. Everything looked really good. So what we're asking for is just approval to award the contract and have the mayor sign, and with Excelsior Construction for the amount of $1,135,950.
Mayor Kling, couple of questions. How do you qualify your bidders?
Low bid.
So it's just based on low bid, public works license? So there's not a select list of contractors that you're choosing from?
No, this was a formal bid, which we are required to take the low bid in this case, and they have to meet all the licensing requirements, being a licensed contractor in Idaho and have a public works license.
So does this project require Davis-Bacon wage rates?
No, it does not.
Doesn't? And I was looking through the contract. I didn't see what the bond requirements are. Are they 100% performance and labor material?
Correct.
Okay. Has legal reviewed the contract?
That's correct.
Mayor and Council, yes. So we have reviewed this standard form agreement. The bid was opened on Thursday, I believe, right? So we've reviewed the standard form agreement and have seen this in general. These standard form agreements aren't always preferable, but in general, they safeguard things and get the job done.
So they protect us?
Yep.
A couple of quick questions, and I don't need to belabor it more, but you have unit prices listed for roof insulation, but it didn't give the R value. So what is the thickness of that insulation?
The allowance that was put in there, their unit prices, was the intent is to do an overlay on the roof. The assessment was that the insulation was in generally good condition, and we would do an overlay. We did have them put in an allowance to account for about 10% replacement for some areas that may have to be replaced if we did discover those, but we were not going to replace the R value, and I don't know what that R value is, but it was determined to be satisfactory.
So this bid includes $8,000 for insulation as an allowance. Are you taking off the current membrane and then putting insulation over the top of the old insulation?
Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, no, we're not.
So you're just going over the existing roof surface then?
Correct. It would be an overlay. The only place where we would replace insulation is if we did discover a part that was in bad shape. We would take that part out, replace the insulation, and then overlay that.
So with the unit prices, my only concern was if you find that there's quite a bit more there. I talked to Patrick today about this, and he said there's a contingency someplace. Is that in the bid, or is that separate than the bid?
It's not included as an allowance, but we do have a contingency for the project.
But that's separate from this bid amount?
That's correct.
Okay. So you have dollars available in the event that you do find something?
Yes.
So the roof, the insulation you're adding, is it tapered roofing or tapered insulation then to provide better positive drainage up there, or what's it for?
Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, what we found is the drainage is actually really, really good.
Okay.
And largely the condition of the existing insulation is really, really good, so we weren't anticipating on making any changes.
Okay. My last question is, it appears to be a pretty aggressive schedule of 4 months. Are you going to be, the contractor, going to be working around the people currently in the building?
That's correct. They're on the second floor. There's really very little work that takes place on the second floor, with the exception of replacement of some of the HVAC on the roof.
Okay.
And so the bulk of the work takes place on the first floor and in the basement.
Okay, so that wouldn't impact their being able to use the building for its intended purposes up there?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, again, a 4-month is a pretty aggressive schedule when you're working around people. And the fact that you've got liquidated damages assessed to the contractor after 120 days, as long as they're going in eyes wide open. Okay, thank you.
Mayor, just a quick question. I didn't research the company. Excelsior, where are they from?
They're based out of Meridian. We have worked with them before on several other
That was
projects.
my next question. So you have worked with them and you've seen their work?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
It says here you have the FY19 Development Services Reserve Fund rollover, $169,543. Did we approve that, Mayor, or did we have to approve that amount? I don't remember.
I believe we did.
We did.
It was originally, the rollover from FY19 was approved, and then obviously we didn't spend it, and it is rolling
Oh, I
over
see.
into FY
Okay.
2020 because we didn't spend it.
Okay, sounds good. That's the only question I had.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Okay. So, council, what would you like to do?
Motion, Mayor, Council make a motion to award the bid and authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Excelsior for action item 5.1 in our agenda.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call?
Berner,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hochboat.
Yes.
Thank you. John. Thank you. The next 5.2 on the agenda is an action item, and this is to choose whether or not we want to sign the support of this legislative bill amending Idaho Code 41-1830. I believe this is the insurance bill that the lady came at the last council meeting, and we said we would bring it back before the council to give council the opportunity to at least look at this and see if that's something that the council would like to say, yes, they would like me to sign. And Doug, you had a chance to review. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, so I'll just give a quick comment here. I won't speak to, in general, whether or not the policy is a good idea or a bad idea, but a couple of things that I do notice. This bill would allow for upfront payment of a certified mailing fee. In the event that that amount increased, this bill doesn't contemplate what would happen. So if the mailing fee was higher than what had been initially paid, it doesn't say whether or not that would negate the obligation to mail something out, or the person would have to come back and increase the amount. It also does not say what happens in the event that the letter is returned. So if the person's not at the address where the letter goes, and the letter is returned, then the insurance company would have that again, but not necessarily know what to do with it. Also, the mailing date for this letter is different than the regular mailing date, which increases at the admin cost, or at least time, for the insurance company. So those are just some of the thoughts I have. Again, I have no official opinion as to whether or not some tweaks could be made that would make it better or worse, or whether it's appropriate in its current form. But anyway, those are the things I see.
Doug, thank you. And just a quick comment. It seems kind of interesting to bring this before a council meeting, but so as individuals, anyone can sign on to a piece of legislation. I just will not sign something as a mayor unless I have the support of the council saying yes as mayor, because I think anytime when you sign something as mayor, it's representative of this body as a whole. And in principle, it's a good idea. The downside is that if we're signing something and we say we support this bill, but this bill is different than what is proposed, that's a little awkward, because it may not be in its final form what we're saying that we agree to. And so that's just a caution that I have, even though principally I don't oppose, and I appreciate the woman that's behind this and her initiative. I think that's awesome. It's just there's a little bit of a challenge there. So, Council, what's your thought?
Yeah, Mayor, Council, I think, we're all elected, and we may chime in as individuals on various issues before the community. I know that members of this council have recently, even on the jail bond issue, and other matters. I appreciate you wanting to be conscientious about supporting things as mayor and seeking our input. At the same time, if you felt strongly about something and just said aye as mayor and you qualify that, we're going to disagree from time to time on some things. So on this matter, as legal pointed out some things in the legislative nature of this bill. We're not state legislators. I do have opinions about lots of state legislation, but I don't know if it's a good precedent to, we do chime in on things. I know Superintendent Keller, who's doing a great job, by the way, asked for our support for reevaluating the funding formula, which is a matter of great importance. And without dismissing this matter, I think she has some legitimate concerns. I don't know if, based on the feedback from legal and just getting the ins and outs of the legislation and hearing both sides within the committee on why people would have concerns with this, I'm a little hesitant. And that's not because I don't support the sentiment or the intention. I just don't want to weigh in early before, I don't think it's even had a printing yet or in committee. So to kind of sponsor a piece of legislation that hasn't even been contemplated by the committee is just premature, I think, on my part. But I forgot her name, support her efforts, and we'll keep an eye on it. But just as a council and as mayor, I think it's probably best to stay out of this matter. At least I'm just speaking for myself. So.
Okay. Any further
Mayor, just one word, premature at this point in time. I will not be voting for it.
Okay.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to not go further with this new business on 5.2 regarding this legislative bill amending Idaho Code 41-1830 at this time.
Okay. Is there a second? Any further discussion?
Mayor Kling, I just reemphasize what you said. I think the spirit behind what she's doing here, I think, has merit. But I think by extension, when we put our name to something, it's meant to represent a bigger body than just us as individuals. Signing it as an individual, I don't have a problem with all of us being able to do that. But as a corporate body and you as mayor being given that directive, I just don't think that's proper in this case.
Thank you. I appreciate the guidance. If there's no further discussion, roll call.
Hogaboom?
The motion was in the form of a negative, right?
Negative.
So, yes.
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Item 5.3 on the agenda is an action item, and this is the first reading for ordinance for clerical corrections on the RS4 zoning subdivision code, and this is requested to be passed under suspension of rules, and also the to authorize the summary publication for the ordinance. Rodney, are you here to speak on this? Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and make the motion under suspension of rules.
I have a question.
You have questions? Can we have a second, then a question, maybe?
Okay, process, we do have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Now, discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. Rodney, question for you. I'm on number 4, let's see, it says 1 of 7, so I'm not sure exactly how that works with what you have. But under number 4, where it says reduced sized lot RS zoned division, and jumping down to number 3, it says RS4 building lots are and shall be exempt from the subdivision minimum lot size average and a periphery compatibility requirement stated in subsection blah, blah, blah. So is that just stating if there's a mixed zoning? Because I'm not really sure if we're talking about RS4, why we're stating specifically that it's exempt from the minimum lot size average.
Mayor, if I may interject, that's a great question.
Thank you.
This ordinance is only for clerical edits. We're just changing headings. And so if there are questions about what substantively the code does, the code is not substantively changing. And we'd be happy to look into the substance of it and seeing if there's something that would be good to be modified. But this ordinance itself only is aligning the numbering to make sure that it makes sense in Sterling.
Okay, I can appreciate that. It just seemed like, I don't know if it's redundant or what the purpose of it is. And so if we were going through editing, that was why I was asking my question. Thank you.
Mayor and council, I'll look into that, and as we do our updates with our attorney's office, we can address that again in the future, the
Thank you.
content.
Thank you, Rodney. And I realize we need to read the ordinance, so we will let your motion and the second stand, and we will read the ordinance, and then we'll proceed from there. Sorry, order.
An ordinance enacted by the Nampa City Council amending Title 10, Chapter 27, Section 1027-4 of the Nampa City Code pertaining to special subdivisions and development, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, and orders and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
So the motion was and the request was to approve the clerical corrections
Under suspension.
and also with the authorizing the summary of publication for the preceding ordinance.
So
Yes.
move.
Okay, and then the second again, okay. So, Victor?
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
And Brunner?
Yes.
Item 5.5 is also an action item, and this is the first reading of ordinance changing and amending Title 10, Chapter 1, Section 10-1-4 pertaining to certificate of occupancy. And this is also requested to pass under suspension of rules. Why don't you go ahead and read that?
An ordinance enacted by the Nampa City Council amending Title 10, Chapter 1, Section 10-1-4 of the Nampa City Code pertaining to certificates of occupancy, providing for an effective date, providing for severability, and repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
And before we move forward, are there any questions regarding this particular ordinance? Patrick is not here, so I'm not sure who could answer that. Rodney could if there are questions. So,
Mayor?
yes.
Thank you. I do have a question, and I hope this is appropriate time to ask that question. I was in a meeting about 2 weeks ago with some of our builders, a business owner, and our building department. And one of the comments that came up was, our questions was about the certificate of occupancy. And that if there are delays on the city part, that it costs the business owners, and is there a way that we can more efficiently and timely get those taken care of so that our business owner is not paying interest on a building that he doesn't occupy?
So, Mayor, Councilman, Councilwoman Levi, so this is a little bit strange because a certificate of occupancy is a building tool, and it's referenced in our planning and zoning code, and really we don't have authority over in planning and zoning over that certificate of occupancy. But I can certainly talk to Patrick about that, see if he has any ideas about getting that issued faster. Certificate of occupancy is dependent on planning and zoning's inspection, as well as multiple other agency inspectors for their final inspection. So we try, I'm responsible for those inspections from planning and zoning. I try to get those out within just a few days after they've called. And I think we do a pretty good job, a decent job in the planning and in the building department to handle those. But I can certainly talk to him and see what else he has in mind.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Mayor Kling, while you're standing there, Rodney, I'm going to pick your brain then. I just got a request today on a project that you're going to be inspecting as far as for occupancy. That's an NNU project, and they've said they've tried to reach both Daniel's office and the Planning and Zoning office 2 to 3 times this week, and they haven't got any recall or any calls back. So are you short-staffed this week with everybody in Las Vegas, or what's going on?
We just lost a person in planning and zoning. We have that position open, so that's one issue as we field phone calls. But that I believe that one was left on Friday. And
he said twice last week, so I'm just going off of what was said. So as long as you're aware that the perception in the field from the superintendents is that they're not getting the calls back as timely as they would like to have them. So if you could follow up on that tomorrow, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. So are there any further questions? As we have completed the reading of this, it is requested to pass under suspension of rules. Would there be a motion to do so?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
5.6 on the agenda is an action item to request council to select, I'm sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. I don't know if it's 7:05 in public hearing time. I don't know if our
excuse
applicant's
me.
here.
Thank you. I totally lost. So what you don't know in my head that I know is that we're actually not doing it.
Sorry.
You didn't know that, though.
But you didn't know that, and we do have to open it. So.
Oh, we do have to open the public
We do
hearing.
have to open the public hearing, so,
Sorry.
yeah, no, that's fine, thank you. Thank you. And there you go, just hold that till next time. Okay, thank you, Rick.
Okay.
Councilman Hogaboam, thank you. Okay, so we will, just because it is 7:05, move to public hearings. And we did have one public hearing scheduled for this evening. It is going to, and it was continued from October 24th to this meeting. And then And actually, the public hearing stayed open. We never closed the public hearing. And so I would stand for a motion to continue this public hearing that is still in an open state to a date certain of November 4.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
And Haverfield?
Yes.
Okay. So back to item 5.6 on the agenda. This is an action item to request council to select one of the sewer trunk extension options to designate $1.5 million toward and allow the engineering division to proceed with project development. This is approved in the FY20 budget, and Tom, thank you for being here to walk us through this.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. So I'm going to introduce this subject, and Daniel's going to come up and talk about the priorities that his team came up with. So this is in the budget for fiscal year 20, and this would be a city-funded trunk line and the sewer trunk line. And the purpose of this is to allow the mayor, council to drive development where they would like it to go. So, you know, whenever you put in the sewer, it opens up the opportunity for commercial and residential developments in whatever area it goes in. So typically a developer would pay for a trunk line as part of their subdivision, but we're finding that, you know, they've come around the city and they've taken out all the easy locations that are less expensive to build. And then what's left now is some very expensive locations where you either have, has to be very deep so it makes grade, and you have groundwater issues where you have rock excavation to get through it. So we've also have our, if you recall, we have our utility reimbursement policy where a developer can come in and install the line and get reimbursed over time. We found, we were actually expecting more developers to use that. It's been kind of slow as well. And a lot of it is because the developer views it as the timeline may be too long for them to get their money back, and there's some risks there they're not willing to take. So this is an option for council if we want to move forward with this. It helps us grow in a direction that the council can control. I will say that both our neighbors are doing this today and have been doing it for a number of years. Meridian and Caldwell, they already have a program where they invest some funds every year in city-funded trunk lines so they can control where they want to grow. So with that, Daniel came up with some data and his 3 options to go over for priority areas, and I'll let him come up and talk about each one of those.
Mayor and Council, as we looked at the development-related trunk lines in the areas where the city has opportunities to install those trunk lines and direct growth, we looked at 3 different main areas. Up north, the Purdom trunk area, which would be Ustick, heading from around Madison, heading out to the county line. The second area would be the Midway area, located there near the Nampa Christian High School, that would take in the western side of town, and then the Mason trunk, which would be south of the airport, heading out towards the county line there. This is not, as Tom said, other cities often do this. It's not the first time the city's done it. Back in the early 90s, we did the Wilson Interceptor that opened up all the area around Bay Hill and south, heading out that direction. In the early 2000s, we did the Middleton trunk that opened up the rest of the west side of town. We funded those trunk lines then to direct the growth. That's where we were seeing the pressure from the development community to go. So the 3 areas that we looked at, we've put them up there kind of in priority, and those priorities are based not necessarily on what the city's desiring from an engineering division standpoint, but from what we're seeing the development community ask about. We receive inquiries from realtors and developers quite often, and so these are the 3 areas that where we're receiving that. The most of that interest is out in the Purdom area, growing out towards the county line. We have a couple of subdivisions out in the area closer to the county line off of Star Road that, because they participated in some older sewer improvements back in early 2000s, they're allowed to discharge out there. With those developments going in, we're getting a lot of inquiries about, okay, what about the other property out there? How can we get that developed? So the Purdom Trunk comprises about 850 acres of land, most of that being medium-density residential, and then about 170 acres of community mixed use on the comp plan. The Midway Trunk is about 650 acres of medium density and about 80 acres of community mixed use. And then the Mason Trunk is about 300 acres of light industrial and 650 acres of low-density residential. One of the reasons we don't see much inquiry out there on the Mason area is that as you go past Happy Valley, you have a lot of 2 to 5 acre parcels that in order to get much development ground, you would be dealing with a lot of property owners. So we don't see much inquiry in that area. The other areas, there are large tracts of land where we receive that interest, and we would just request your direction on where you would like to see this approved budget item allocated to.
Mayor Kling.
Thank you.
Daniel, the Noble Basin area, how is it currently planned to be served?
So the Noble Basin area, the Purdom is here. The Noble would come back here and be served. Currently, there's design work being done on Eustick Road between Northside and Middleton, or Northside and Midland. That's the industrial area north of the sugar factory. So that's how that would be served. There is not funding allocated to the construction of that yet. In the budget process, as we went through that, the proposal was for development-related trunk line. It was not necessarily considered. We were not looking at the industrial areas there, but that is an option there. We've received estimates on that construction for that 3/4 of a mile or so, and we're looking upwards in the $3.5 million to $4 million. So the 1.5 would need to be augmented by something else to complete that line that's being designed.
Do you know if it falls in the urban renewal area?
The Noble Drain improvements do fall in that. None of these other areas would.
Right. So my preference would be option 1, priority 1, just because of the ability to follow up with the concept of being able to develop an industrial growth area that we currently really don't have out there. And the rail line that goes through the Noble Basin basically is a feature that none of the other options have either.
So if I may clarify, Councilman Haverfield, the Noble Basin would be heading this direction here. Currently, the proposal there, it would be the Purdom that would head east towards the county line rather than west towards that industrial area.
So is it, that was my question then, where does this connect in to the current service at?
So the current Purdom lift station, which serves both the Noble and the Purdom basins, is on the northeast corner of Northside and Eustick. And so the Purdom 1 priority would connect there in Eustick, just east of Madison.
Yeah. And again, I see the potential for the Urban Renewal District to be involved with maybe some improvements further west. And then this location would not only benefit the industrial side through that effort, but the residential and mixed use potential.
Correct.
So it hits all 3 sectors, which the others don't.
Yes.
Thank you, Randy. Councilwoman Levi?
Thank you, Mayor. It was stated that when talking to the developers, that they didn't want to assume the risk. So I'm wondering who is, And then what impact does this have on the city of Nampa in general, but also on our taxpayers in the big picture of things?
So these funds were allocated out of the wastewater division, which is not taxpayer revenue, that is users' revenue. When we looked at the budget numbers, with allocating for everything else that needed to be budgeted for in the wastewater program, we had the ability to budget this $1.5 million to help further direct the location of future growth within the city.
Thank you.
Mayor Kling. So Daniel, I'm thinking the more population, the more developing's going on in certain areas of Nampa, the north and the west.
Mhm.
So I want your opinion of what you believe we should be, in what direction we should be going, because you're the ones that's reflecting the calls and all the permits and
So
engineering.
what I will say is the Purdom area is where we receive the most interest from the development community.
And that's what a lot of light industrial are going up into now.
So within the Purdom area that would be served by what we're talking about, there is that community mixed use area and then residential area. There is not light industrial area within that. None of, well, other than the Mason area, which has the airport and the surrounding light industrial areas around that. That's the only one of these that has any light industrial within the comprehensive plan for that area.
Okay, and just for clarification, Councilman Haverfield, that's the one you're going for?
Pardon me?
That's the one that you're going to go for the Purdom?
Priority one on up there, yeah, Purdom.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dan.
And I would follow up with, Mayor, if I might, the development that I've been involved with out in that area. It's always been such a far distance to be able to get sewer, to be able to get even residential growth. So the people that have risked extending water to be able to get some payback later on with a latecomers fee, sewer has never been available out in that area. So it's ripe for development. We're seeing with Amazon and other things happening on that northeast quadrant, I think a real need for sewer.
And did you say that was an urban renewal area? No. Or was it?
To the west.
Oh, to the west.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's more consideration in place right now, or conversation about the Noble Basin area. So as that potentially develops and you've got live-work opportunity, that the others would just be more residential growth areas.
Okay, thank you.
Although around the airport, I would state, that's an area of potential as well, but not as nice as this area is.
Okay, thank you.
So you stick further east is the future home of the West Ada High School or school that's going to be going in there. I think we're going to see tremendous growth, and we've had a number of developers express interest in that area. But without the sewer, access to sewer, it's made it difficult. So I think that's the next place that we're going to see a lot of growth. And to be able to capture that growth on our side of the county line, it's absolutely happening on the Ada side.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Daniel, did you say we would be annexing the cheese factory as well as part of that?
No, I did not say that.
All right. All right.
Wishing.
Not sure where that came from, but it's a good idea.
I heard cheese factory. I just thought
That would be nice.
we could use the revenue.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this time, unless there's further questions and discussion, we would stand for a motion to select one of these, and I think there has been a motion, so Councilman Haverfield.
I would make the motion for the council consideration to choose the Purdom Priority 1 area as defined in this presentation.
Second. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Second.
Seconded by Councilman Rodriguez. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
I would also note that Skog is here now.
Yes, thank you. Okay, moving on to action item 5.7. This is to award the bid to Thusen Construction for crushed aggregate for chip seal for FY 2020 project and authorize the mayor to sign the contract, and this was approved in the FY 20 budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, moved by Councilman Brunner and seconded by Councilman Haverfield. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question. I might have missed it in the packet, but what was budgeted for this amount? So I see the bid amount. Usually it's easily available to see what was budgeted. I just like to reconcile those numbers.
So it's all out of the payment management fund, which we have over $1 million in the budget for that. So how we use that money is we buy our rocks and our oil out of that budget. So we just took a piece out of it to get the rocks.
Was the bid amount about what you thought it would be?
Yes.
Because I only saw there was only one bid on this, right? So.
Yes, it was about what we thought it would be.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good. Thanks.
Any further questions? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
And Brunner? Brunner?
Yes. I didn't hear, sorry.
Okay, moving on to 5.8. This is an action item, and this is to authorize the mayor to sign the contract for the FY20 VRT contract in the amount of $378,139. So this is what was approved in the budget. It is not what they requested. It was per Councilman Hogaboom's request to reduce it by $5,000. And so we did approve it in the budget, but this is actually to sign the contract for what was in the budget. Are there any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve it. I'd only note, and I assume the language, on page 324 of our packet, there's a strike through in the original amount with the 325, the 378 total, 139 that's listed on our agenda, but on the following two pages, there's the old amount listed, and I'm just making it clear that the amount that we're approving would carry on through those other listed amounts.
So the amount you're approving is?
The 378,139. That would be my motion.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Clarification.
Yes?
Is it 378 or 375? It's hard to read.
It's an 8.
Okay.
Sorry, I just went off.
Oh, I see. It's right
You
there.
see it? Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
No.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
And Hogaboom?
Yes.
So that concludes the new business portion of our agenda. We have already concluded Section 6, which is the public hearings. That takes us to unfinished business. We have one item under unfinished business. This is the first reading of ordinance for annexation and zoning to BC at Zero Star Road on the south side of Ustick Road, which is east of Star Road. This was for access to city utilities for a mixed-use development.
An ordinance determining that certain unaddressed lands lying south of Ustick Road and immediately west of the property, commonly known as 4729 Ustick Road, comprising approximately 4.72 acres, more or less, lay contiguous to the city limits of the city of Nampa, county of Canyon, state of Idaho, and that said land should be annexed into the city of Nampa, Idaho, as part of the BC zone, declaring said lands by proper legal description as described below to be part of the city of Nampa, Canyon County, Idaho, directing the city engineer and planning and zoning director to add said property to the official maps of the city of Nampa, Idaho, repealing all ordinances, resolutions, orders, or parts thereof in conflict herewith, providing an effective date and directing the clerk of the city of Nampa to file a certified copy of the ordinance, a map of the area to be annexed with Canyon County, state of Idaho, and the Idaho State Tax Commission pursuant to Idaho Code Section 63215.
And this is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
The next section on our agenda is Section 8. These are just noted for public notice that they're pending ordinances that we're awaiting documentation. And then that moves us to item 9. This is an executive session, so I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session for 3 different items. First and foremost, it is Idaho Code 74206, 1D, to consider records that are exempt from disclosure as provided in Chapter 1, Title 74 of Idaho Code. And the second one is Idaho Code 742061I, to engage in communications with a representative of a public agency's risk manager or insurance provider to discuss the adjustment of a pending claim or prevention of a claim imminently likely to be filed. The mere presence of a representative of the public agency's risk manager or insurance provider at an executive session does not satisfy this requirement. And then the next one is Idaho Code 742061C, and this is to acquire an interest in real property which is not owned by a public agency. Is there a motion to adjourn into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Pogeboom?
Yes.
And Haverfield?
Yes.
Assuming that none of you will be here when we return, thank you for joining us this evening, and this is a reminder that no action is taken in executive session. So thank you for joining us this evening.